I wanted a major that would keep me engaged with the business side of things. I wanted to relate my focus a bit to the more technical and data-driven aspects of the business world. That direction would enable me to utilize my strengths, being my logical thinking skills and my problem-solving capabilities. Hello everyone, my name is Glenn Martens, lead developer at Aegon Asset Management and co-founder of Martens Lin Translations.
为什么选择学习商业与 IT 相关专业？
Before discussing my current function, I'll give you a short overview on my studies and my tenure at Maastricht University. Having taken a bachelor study in business economics, there and then I decided to complement my study with a master in business intelligence, which was the pre-runner of today's master in information management. The reason for me choosing this study were twofold. On the one hand, I wanted a major that would keep me engaged with the business side of things, as I believe that knowing and speaking business language is just as important for the business supporting functions as it is for business professionals themselves. On the other hand, I wanted to relate my focus a bit to the more technical and data-driven aspects of the business world, as pursuing a professional career in that direction would enable me to utilize my strengths, being my logical thinking skills and my problem-solving capabilities. Looking back, bar from learning more about various business processes and the database language SQL, I think the key takeaways from my study primarily revolved on how to best support the business as a supporting function in the technology space. It is quite common nowadays to find highly skilled technical people who have not developed their business knowledge and thinking, creating a sizable gap between the tech department and the business they have to support. I believe study truly helped me to become a bridge between both worlds, from which I've only profited ever since.
和国际学生们一起学习是什么体验？
If I look back and think of my time there, I had the pleasure to both work and hang out with a lot of international students from various countries such as Poland, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, but also more countries far away like Singapore, the US, and of course China. I made a great many friends along the way. Speaking in particular about China and Chinese students, I feel that most Chinese students that I work with are very good at mathematics and have highly or strong problem-solving skills and excellent logical thinking capability. What they seem to be struggling with the most, I think, is for some of them English, not all of them of course, especially when given the assignment to present in front of a class or just generally public speaking. It feels that they feel primarily insecure about their English, which in some cases is not warranted. I think their English is sometimes actually very well developed, and when you speak to them in a face-to-face situation, it sometimes is very good. Personally, I love teaming up with them as they are always hardworking. They try to push everyone to have their stuff completed on time.
对外国人来说，哪些荷兰文化要特别注意？
I feel if I had to define Dutch culture, it would be openness and tolerance. But when I often speak to foreigners, they mention the same things, but I think they have a minor misconception of what this truly entails. Our openness and tolerance comes with a certain directness. Dutch people have a way of communicating without sugarcoating. They would often come across as blunt or rude, whilst to us it feels like a perfectly normal thing to say. I think the average worker in the Netherlands works 9 to 5 jobs. That's basically the standard. And in most cases, after they become father, they start working a day less, either one day a week or one day every 2 weeks, where they take a so-called Papa Day. It is, how to say that, we value our work-life balance a lot when it comes to work-related things, in particular meetings with higher-ups. I think that hierarchy status in China is a lot stronger than in Europe. Regardless of the job we are working, you could be a surgeon or you could be a toilet cleaner for all that matters to us. It does not really impact the way we perceive people. We just see everyone as equal regardless of their status, job, current situation.
结合自身工作经验，给想从事商业和 IT 领域的同学们什么建议？
After having wrapped up my studies, I moved into a testing function on a master data management platform called Market. Looking back, I felt that testing was a really good way for me to start working because it got me in touch with the developers, the code writing, and trying to read and comprehend and understand code without actually having to write it myself. I could learn from various people because I would be looking at code from all of the developers, not just a single one, so I wouldn't have a single source of learning. I think also once you've learned or mastered at least one program language, it is very easy to move on from one to the next. I continued my career in Market, and after several months of testing, I quickly moved on to development, which was honestly more my passion. I did that for I think about 5-6 years, and I think during the time I changed employer a few times and I moved on from various positions, because if you have a background in business, which I will refer back to later, it is very common for you to not just do development but also a bit of analysis or architecture work. So I moved on from being a developer to various analyst roles, a technical architect, even did product ownership for a while, to eventually land on a position as a cloud developer a few years back. The cloud development that I did was primarily revolved around the AWS platform, Amazon Web Services, and I had to learn Python for the first time, which was probably one of the more complex languages I've learned, but I think that having some experience with C++, SQL database languages, although it being a bit far apart, really helped me to quicker understand the syntax. And I feel that if you've learned Python, it should be easy for you to learn basically any other program language. Looking at what I think is the key takeaways, considering we have various newcomers currently entering the company who basically have a background not akin to mine, but more focused on computer science and data science, which I think is what most people apply for nowadays when they're looking for a technical study. You need to take into consideration that when you opt into one of these studies, you will never stop learning, especially in the IT business. Things could change from one day to the next. Basically, if a groundbreaking thing gets discovered and everyone jumps on it, I think cloud development, even though it didn't go that rapid, it went quite rapid, and people had to learn cloud development in a very few times. And probably in the next year or so, we will find that more focus on AI, machine learning, etc. I've had to learn new things every year, and it will probably never stop until I retire. Another thing, which is a big key takeaway, I think that people who study these type of technical studies need to really consider the industry that they're going to work in. And why I say that is that most people that come in right now, they have the technical skills and are very, very smart people, but they have problems when talking to business managers, their stakeholders, team leads, people who run production, because they do not necessarily understand the business that sits behind the IT, which I think if you keep that in mind while studying and you focus on that and you pick an industry that you like and that you want to work in and have knowledge of, it will benefit you down the line very greatly. I think it is also very important to develop your social skills in terms of networking. Think of hosting presentations. I know most people don't like it, and personally when I was younger I also didn't like it either, but being a IT person that has the social capability of doing these things will also get you very far. I think with all these things in mind, you should be able to grow out into someone that will both understand the IT side of things, have a very strong technical know-how, but also speak the language of your users, customers, and stakeholders, which I think will generally set you apart from other coders or your peers, where you will be able to fill the gap that currently exists in, I think, most companies between IT and the business world. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.